Okay guys, so I just want to make this a video really quickly to show y'all a bit of things that I've seen that seem to be questionable to me, but I'm here in my SignMaster Pro 3.5, as you can see in the top left hand corner, and I have, this is stickers. Let me zoom in a little bit for y'all so that y'all could see a little bit better. As you can see, I've already set up this sheet to where it has the blue line. These are going to be cut lines. So there's a blue line right here, and there's red lines, of course, around it. So let me go ahead and zoom back out. Just want to zoom in on that. And now I'm going to go ahead and open the actual spooler, the vinyl spooler. And I'm going to show y'all that this is set up with my Heat Press Nation Evo plotter. And this does take a little while to launch. I'm not too sure. It didn't used to take so long to launch, but lately it has been. So as you can see in here, I have my Evo connected, and it's the 28-inch. Now I want to show y'all something. Do y'all see the cut options right here? These are the default settings for the Heat Press Nation Evo cutter. Now you see the only thing that it lets you adjust is the media width and length, and then the cutting options, which is the blade offset and the overcut. And it also allows you to choose which blade that you're using, right? Now down here, it does say cutting options, and it says advance after plot, right? There's nothing here. So I'm gonna go ahead and close out of this really quickly. I'm gonna go ahead and click on the contour cut wizard up here in the left-hand corner and click on it here. And I want to open this up for you so that I can show you the settings in here as well. So we're going to go right here to where it says print options. And right here in print options, you can see my two different cuts. Actually, the blue one should be at top. So I have the blue cut and have the red cut. So the blue cut is around the circles, and the red cut is the square on that. So this is going to be for like a sticker template. Now, as you can see, when we go ahead and click on the sticker cut itself, and then we click on edit, these are the default edit settings that we have here, specifically for the VinylSystems Evo cutter with Heat Press Nation. And these are the only things that it allows us to go ahead and change here. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of that, and you're able to do it for the red cut as well. I'm going to go ahead and make another video in the future that shows you how to go ahead and do some things. So same exact thing. Now I want to show y'all something. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this, and I'm going to close this. So I'm going to go back into the vinyl spooler, and there's many different ways that you're able to access it. So I'm just going to go right here by the contour wizard and click the vinyl spooler here. Now, the reason why I'm bringing all of this up is because if you look up in Google or on YouTube, specifically YouTube, the SignMaster software. And remember, I'm using the SignMaster Pro up here, SignMaster Pro 3.5. Every vinyl cutter, with the exception of the Heat Press Nation, Evo, and possibly the Edge as well, has certain default settings on their plotter that you're able to go ahead and change within here, like within the system, not specifically on the plotter itself, such as force and cut. And I want to show you what I'm speaking about, because I think that this should just be a default standard on all plotters, right? Especially for SignMasters, right? If every single other plotter with other companies are using these default settings, then it kind of makes you question why Heat Press Nation doesn't have them set up, right? Okay, so here I'm going to go into the cut options, because remember, these are the defaults, right? So if you come up here to cutter in the top left-hand corner of the vinyl spooler, you can click on configure cutter. Okay, once you go into the configure cutter, you're going to see that you have some options to change things here. So you have general options where you can go ahead, it tells you the device, and it tells you the maximum width and the maximum length, right? When you go into commands, it's not showing you the commands. You see, it doesn't have any properties there. Now, when you go into the units are pretty much whether you want it to be done in inches or millimeters. I have mine set up with inches, and you set that up when you're actually installing the software itself. And then it says, for the blade compensation, just to show that it's on. Now you have options and nothing showing up. And then you go into all settings, and it only gives you the general and the units, right? But check this out. If you click on edit, there's this option here that says advanced settings. Now, if you click on the advanced settings, do you see how commands and options showed up here? So before it was just the general and the units, and now commands and options show up here. Now, if you click in the commands, it actually shows you the device language. And what this is how the actual software itself, so SignMasters, how the software communicates with the plotter, the Evo cutter, right? So as you can see here, the actual language is the HP GL. But if you click on it, there are more options to choose from. Now, I'm more than positive that this is for other plotters, right? But stay with me here. I'm going to show you something. So this is the language. We're going to go ahead and keep it on the default language here. And then it gives you command options. So here in the command options, it shows you what it is that there is. Now, look, there's select tool. See how this is off? If you open it, it shows you what the tools are, pin command and cut command. I automatically turn this on. So I enable it, right? I'm going to change some settings here, and then I'm going to backtrack and then change them all back to default, but I just want to show you what I'm speaking of, right? So I'm enabling this. Now, if you go to the cut stream, you can see, now pay attention because up here it says properties and over here it says values. Now, these values actually have to do with the device language. Okay, this device language right here, this is how the actual software communicates with the cutter. So I don't mess with anything there. Now in the units, I don't really touch anything here either, but the units are there. And it does say to use the laser is on, but if you'd like to, you could turn it off, right? But you do want this on if you're doing contour cutting, so print and cut, right? But check out these options down here. So when you click on options, do you see how all of these options are turned off? And it gives you the option to adjust force, adjust speed, the travel speed, and use sheet to advance. Now, I'm going to go ahead and turn the use sheet advance, right? So this is like the feeding of whatever type of material that you're putting into the plotter, right? Now, I'm going to go ahead and edit these right here, the adjust force and the adjust speed, because these are the default settings that are set up on every single other vinyl cutter that uses SignMasters, with the exception of the Evo cutter, and I'm not too sure because I don't own an Edge, but I'm assuming the Edge as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn the adjust force on. Now pay attention right here to the force command. There is nothing populating. Remember, the command needs to be there because that's the language that is used to communicate with the plotter itself. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the minimum force, and this is just for example purposes, guys. So I'm going to put the minimum force at 60. I'm going to use the max force at, let's say 450, and the default force is going to be at 350. Okay. Now I'm also going to go ahead and turn on the adjust speed. So this is how fast the blade is going, right? Now, do you see right here for the speed command, there is a value associated here. So we have that there. Now for minimum speed, I'm going to put, let's put 200. Max speed, we are going to put that at 350. Or I'm sorry, let's change the max speed to 550, and the default feed, or the default speed, I apologize, is 350. Now I'm going to come back up here because this is the actual force, and I am going to change this. So for the default force, I'm going to put 210, which is super, that's kind of a deep force, but I'm going to leave it at 210. Remember, this is just for example purposes. And the max force, I'll go ahead and leave it at 450. So we're going to go ahead and just change those settings, okay? I'm going to go ahead and select accept down here. And do you see how now in the cut options, look, now it allows you to select the pen mode and the cutting mode, and it allows you to go ahead and adjust the speed. Now remember, I set defaults, so if you don't change anything, it will go ahead and use the default, but if you check it here, it allows you to manipulate it, okay? So we're going to go ahead and turn it off. Now what is missing here? The force, right? Which I believe is the most important. Now, the force is missing because remember, there wasn't a value placed in that area whenever we were in the configurations of the cutter. Now I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, and I'm going to show you something else, okay? This has to do with the stickers, right? Like I want to kiss cut the blue circle, I want to full cut the red, right? And I want to do it all in one go of putting the material in the vinyl cutter and the vinyl cutter, cutting it all in one go, right? So I'm going to come up here to the contour cut wizard, and then in here you can see what is going to cut. Now you want to go ahead and select print options up here in the top left-hand corner. And it gives you options to go ahead and change these things. Now, this is for the position of what's going on in here. Now, I'm not going to talk about that, but I am going to talk right here about the cutting tools, right? So we have two different cuts, right? We have the circle cut, which is the blue, and we have the red cut, which is right here, the square, right? So what you would do is you would click on them individually and then click edit, right? So when you click edit, do you see how like you're able to go ahead and change all these settings? And then if you want to change the cut setting, then you're able to go ahead and manipulate it here, right? But the actual force is missing here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go back after this, and I'm going to show you what the default settings look in this area so you can see what I'm working with. But I'm going to go ahead and cancel this out. And then I'm going to go ahead and go back into the vinyl spooler and change the configurations again, right? Because I want to show you something there as well. I'm going to go ahead and hit on the cut options right here so that you can view what we're dealing with, right? These are, remember, none of this was here before, but you can see this now. And now we're going back into the cutter, we're going into the configure cutter, we're going into edit, and we're going into advanced settings. Now we're in advanced settings, we're going to click on all settings, and we're going to click on command to expand it, and we're also going to click on the options to adjust the force and the speed. Now remember, pay attention to the speed command. Well, the speed command is already there, but pay attention to the force command. while I make edits to the device language, okay? Now the HPGL, I believe if I'm not mistaken, that's like a default hue packer code that is used to communicate with the plotter, right? And these values that are put in are what fall under that code, right? It's the language that they use to speak to one another. So I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to change it to HPGL2, right? Now, do you notice how now there is a value for the force command? So now there is a language for it to speak to the plotter, right? So I'm going to go ahead and accept, and voila. Do you see how now it gives you the option to adjust the force here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and get out of this. I'm going to go back to the contour cut wizard, and I'm going in here. And I'm going to do a little bit more explaining now that I'm in here. So the reason why this is so important is because if you have a project that you're doing and you're doing either multiple cuts or folds or anything to that extent, and the way you're able to differentiate the cuts or the folds is by making them different colors. And you actually do that over here under the cut tool. I'll show you that in a little bit. But so I'm going to do, remember, this is supposed to be my kiss cut, the blue one. So I'm clicking on that color itself and I'm going into edit. And once I come in here, I actually do want this to be on the default. So I'm just going to leave it right here at the default settings, right? And I'll apply. But for the red, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change those settings because the red needs to be cut deeper because it's going to go all the way through the paper and the vinyl or laminate, whatever I put on the stickers, where the blue one is just going to kiss cut. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and check these boxes. I'm going to make the force 250, and you could go ahead and type this in. I'm just doing it the long way. And I'm going to leave the cut speed at 350. Now, once you apply that, then that's how you're able to get it to cut the actual project at different cuts and forces. So that's why it's so important to have this as a default, right? Like, why is it that all the other vinyl machines with other companies have these set on there as a default with SignMaster, but yet Heat Press Nation doesn't? It's just questionable to me, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove all these settings, right? Because I'm going to strip it back down to the default because I don't want anything to mess up. And guys, please, 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 please don't change any of your settings the way I'm showing you here, because I guarantee you that it's not going to communicate with your plotter properly, because there is Heat Press Nation is supposed to set up this information or the languages with SignMasters. Remember, like, they're working together. SignMasters is the actual software that is being used with the plotter. The plotter is Heat Press Nation's, but SignMaster is the software, so they're working together. But Heat Press Nation is the one that's supposed to set up these type of default settings and the languages and whatnot so that it's able to work with the plotter that way. So, and the reason why it's so important is because you can't just go to the plotter and put in these settings for different cuts, right? That would mean that you would have to put the project in multiple times to get the different cuts, right? But I do have a workaround for this. This is the way I actually do it. So let me go ahead and change the settings back to the default settings. And I'm just waiting, of course, for the spooler to completely open. I apologize that it takes so long. Let me go ahead and pause this until it opens. I apologize, guys. When I hit pause, I accidentally hit the stop button after I hit pause, and so it took off the recording. But the screen is back up, so I'm going to go ahead and go into the cut options so that you can see all of the different things that I have here that I changed from the default settings. And I'm just going to go back into the cutter, the configure cutter, and edit and advanced settings. I'm going to go into all settings. The very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the commands. I'm going to go into the device language, and I'm going to change this back to the default, which is the HPGL. And I'm going to go ahead and keep the select tools enabled so that I could go ahead and pick from a pin or a cutter. But I am going to go ahead and go back into the options, and I am going to turn off the force and the speed. And I'm going to go ahead and leave the sheet advanced. So I'm just going to accept all the settings, and as you can see, it went ahead and it updated everything here. So please, guys, please do not go and start changing your settings. I'm just showing y'all this to inform y'all that the capability is there, but for whatever odd reason, Heat Press Nation is not setting these default settings like all of the other vinyl companies are, and I find that a bit questionable, you know. But I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and I'm going to show y'all how I actually do cut the different types of cuts here with the default settings in one go. And then later on, I'll make another video which shows y'all step by step how I do the process. But we're going to go back into the cutter up here, and we're going to go to send cutter or send to cutter. Now up here it does say to separate by color, and you can uncheck that and then it just has them all combined. But if you go ahead and select separate by color, then you could choose the red, which you see it's only outlining the squares, which is the outside that should cut through the whole sticker paper. And then if you highlight the blue, then it's showing you that it's just the sticker that's supposed to be the kiss cut. Now, when you come over here into the cut control settings and the settings, you can see like where it allows you to do the positioning and adjusting all of the size of your project in case like you're printing with a large format printer or whatnot, you need to change it. So let me go ahead and close out of this, and I'm actually going back into the contour cut wizard. And right here, this is where you're able to go ahead and print. And then after you print and you want to go ahead and select, make sure if you have multiple vinyl cutters, because I do, but I went ahead and I removed everything and I just left it specifically with Evo cutter, and I uninstalled. I actually have the SignMaster Extra 5.0 version, but I'm making this video because I've already reached out to Heat Press Nation and SignMasters, and I've been getting ping pong back and forth, and it's a big mess. But I just wanted to show y'all that this is specifically for the Evo, and I didn't want to have any complications with other cutters in here. Now, when you're on this page, like I said, you could do everything from in here. You can print it, and then after it's printed, you can put it in the vinyl and cut it. So you want to make sure that you have the correct printer selected here. You could pick the option whether you want it to be printed to a PDF or saved as an image, print direct. You always want to check the properties. But going back to the cut settings, right? To get to the cut settings, to differentiate the cuts, what you want to do is you want to go into print options up here. Now, the way I do it is I actually test cut my material first so that I know what exactly the kiss cut needs to be for the blue, for around the circle, right? So then at that point, because remember, we're not able to adjust the force and the speed here in the actual computer because Heat Press Nation and SignMasters did not give us that option with this plotter cutter. So the way we have to do it is we have to set it on the actual plotter. So on the Evo itself, we have to set the speed and the force. So after I test cut my material, then I come over here and, well, I set the plotter to that actual force and speed. And then you come in here and you edit. You're going to pick each color individually. So you edit the blue. I leave it on the default setting. I put none in default and I apply. Then for the red, which is the outside, which is going to cut through all of the material, what I do is I hit edit. And then I select this option right here, because remember, this doesn't have the mass array where we're able to go ahead and do the force and the speed directly in the actual computer itself. So then I select multi-cut, and then I will either put this to 3 or 4. Now it does give you a warning, but as long as you're familiar with the settings and the material that you're using, you can go ahead and do it. So when you go ahead and hit apply, and then once you hit apply, you can go ahead and put it in the cutter, and the cutter will go ahead. The order that this is set right here, so the blue and the red, this is the order that it will cut the actual. So if you have more options to do, then it will go ahead and do those other options. So it will cut the blue first, and then it will cut the red. And you don't have to like put the material in the system multiple times. You just put it in there one go, it will cut the blue first, and then after it cuts all the blue, it will go back around and it will cut the red. Now remember, because we selected for it to be a multi-cut, so it's going to cut on the same settings as the blue, but it's going to cut it 4 times in this case, right? So it's going to come back and go around. It's going to cut this 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll make a video on it in the future, and it will do it for each one. And then that way, if you want to give out these stickers where you could just peel this sticker, but also have the back, because, you know, it's kind of difficult just to give the sticker alone, and sometimes it's difficult to peel the backing off, then you're able to go ahead and proceed with doing this. Now, I'm going to go ahead and close out of this, and I'm going to show you how you can add a different cut. So this is just for demonstration purposes. I'm going to go ahead and grab a shape right here, and I'm going to make, let's go ahead and choose another square. Now I'm going to place, sorry guys, my echo went off to give me the weather. Okay, so the shape is here. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to click on the actual pointer over here so that I could select the shape itself. And I'm going to unlock it, and I'm going to make it 5 inches, right? And then I'm going to do the same over here so that it could be a perfect square, and then I'm going to lock the shape. Okay, so now that this is here, right? It doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and put it right here. Okay, it doesn't matter which cut you pick, but what I'm going to show you how you can do this. So you're going to come over here on the very far right hand side under where it says tools, and now your settings might be different, but these are the default settings that come on here. So you want to click on the little blade, and do you see how it gives you different options? It gives you a cut, a fold, a perforation, whatever you want to do. So since we already have a cut and a fold, let me go ahead and select the perforation. So you see how it made it a different color? It made it green instead of the red and the blue. So now if we go ahead and, sorry about that guys, let me go ahead and make this smaller. So now if we go ahead and select all of this, and we go to the contoured wizard, and we go to print options, now do you see how there is the perforation one right there? Now it doesn't matter what it's called. If you just need all these different kind of cuts or folds, like say you're making cards or anything to that extent, or even boxes, then you're able to now go in here and edit this one. Now, the thing is, like I said, Heat Press Nation doesn't have their setup the way the mass majority of all the other merchants have their plotter set up, where it automatically allows you to adjust the force and speed in here. So what you need to do is you need to go ahead and if for some reason it is a dash cut that you want, or a crease line, or a thick sheet, then you can pick those options. But the way around to go ahead and have it all done in one sheet is you could go ahead and select this option, the multi-cut, and go ahead and do, you know, the different types, like if you needed to cut so many times through, and you can apply it. And then once you go ahead and you can go ahead and do this skip part, and then you could go straight to the cut, and then it will go ahead and tell you to like put it in the vinyl, or excuse me, put it in the plotter a certain way, and then it will go ahead and proceed with doing the cuts that you need to do. So I'm not going to show like all of the process. Like I said, I'll make a more detailed video on it in the future in case anybody needs to learn these type of steps. But yeah, I hope somebody found this educational, or I'm just like wondering, why is it that Heat Press Nation set up their plotters this way? You know, it would make it so much easier if they were just like all the other companies and allowed us to have the force and speed automatically set on the computer itself, so that we could do it in the computer. I love Heat Press Nation. It's just, I think that they dropped the ball on this one. And I'm waiting for a response from both SignMasters and Heat Press Nation, because I asked them if it's possible that they could either go ahead and update like the configurations of the software so that it does give us this option, or anything to that extent, or if they'll be releasing a different plotter that gives these options. But I hope somebody found this useful, and yeah, thanks for watching this video, guys. Bye.